Ukrainian drone strikes in Russia have killed at least 4 people and wounded at least a dozen others, according to local authorities. Most of the deaths were in the Moscow region. The drone attack is said to be Ukraine's biggest on Russia in over a year. A local official says several high-rise residential buildings were hit. Infrastructure facilities were also damaged. Drone debris fell on Moscow's Sheremetyevo airport, Russia's largest. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says the strikes are an entirely justified retribution for a huge attack on Kyiv on Wednesday night. I asked military analyst Marina Miron just how extensive the assault was.
Well, if we look at the preceding attacks by the Ukrainian side, it was indeed the largest attack because during the preceding attacks, there were about 280 drones used, and here we see the double the amount of the drones used in this attack, as well as the geographical breadth of the attack. So it can be said that it's something unprecedented.
Ukraine's hit Moscow many times now. How dense are the city's air defenses?
The air defenses can be as dense as they want to be. The problem is, if you have an overwhelming amount of drones incoming, can the radar register all of them? And that is the main issue. Can you defend against all types of drones? And that has been the problem that we have seen also in the Israeli-Iranian confrontation. We have seen that with the Ukrainian side as well. So no air defense system or even layered air defenses in this case will be 100% secure. So some drones will come through eventually.
And what do you make of Russia's accusation that Kyiv targeted civilians?
These accusations are also made by the Ukrainian side, and it's completely logical for both sides as a result of an attack to portray it as a barbarity, to portray it as terrorism. This is nothing new. This has been the narrative for the past 4 years. Yes, there are facts that civilian targets have been struck. The question is, was it the intention to strike these targets, or whether it was due to spoofing of GPS signals? That is a completely different matter. However, in the information space, it doesn't matter if it's Russia or if it's Ukraine or if it's Iran or any other country. Of course, this will be the point that will be emphasized, not the military infrastructure that has been struck or any sort of strategic objects. Usually that information is minimized in favor of portraying the adversary as being inhumane and as being barbaric.
What about the significance of this oil refinery having been hit?
Well, it is, of course, if we look at the entire picture and Ukraine's strategy to pressure a Russian economy by hitting critical infrastructure such as oil refineries. Another example would be a microelectronics plant. This complicates things for Russia in the long term when these attacks add up and create substantial damage. A single attack by itself is not going to lead to a complete disruption of Russia's economy to the point that Russia will not be able to continue the war.
So at this late stage in the war, if we can call it that, where are we? Has anything really changed?
Well, what is changing is the increased use of unmanned systems, and we are seeing that the Russians are focusing on mass. When it comes to unmanned systems, the Ukrainian side is leading in innovation, however, has issues producing their unmanned systems at scale or at scale to match the Russian side. And so we have this contest, and these unmanned systems help to create so-called kill zones on the battlefield. Unmanned systems help also in other tasks such as logistics or even the unmanned surface vehicles. We have seen that the Black Sea Fleet has been heavily challenged. And so what we're seeing now is an evolution of this war, but that doesn't remain the centrality of the human element. And we're seeing this directly on the battlefield. Despite the proliferation of unmanned systems, we see that humans are still very important and critical to leading the military operations. And from what it looks like a bit of a stalemate right now. Things are moving slowly. And we're seeing the constant iteration. One side innovates, the other side adapts. So there is like a sinus curve when it comes to that point.
So neither side really winning.
No, it's a war of attrition, and it's a contest of political will, and of course, many other factors such as economic capability and human capital. And the side that has that in a positive balance will be the one to win, because we also have to think about military victory versus achieving political objectives. And that is not the same if we look at the past military history, the United States being a good example thereof. Militarily, the United States won in Vietnam, but it lost politically. And that has been a classic example that winning on the battlefield doesn't necessarily mean that you have the political victory.
Marina Miron, as always, great to get your analysis.
Thank you for having me.